Welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of the Film Bros Championship Podcast. I am Tim, and with me is my co-host, Patrick. How you doing, buddy?
Tim, I'm a person, and I have a right to the ball. Woo!
Okay. All right. You know what? Because you always have a quote.
I do. I try.
You had to be like, wait a minute, I had to get my quote together before clicking record. And to be honest, totally not what I was expecting you to go with at all.
Yeah.
So you caught me off guard.
I did it
on that one.
You know, as a basketball fan, I was just absolutely delighted by that line. Just like, oh yeah, I am using this, and no one's ever gonna get it.
Yeah. Did you love everything from the coach?
I think there's like a missing part of this joke. Like he was supposed to be like also the school counselor or something like that.
Right.
Spouting this nonsense.
I was wondering,
but
like, what?
It is funny that like, are we the X's or the O's? And like the guy's like, we're the O's. It's like, oh. And then you look at the whiteboard like it's a football field. Like, God damn it.
Yeah. I didn't even notice the football field. That's so funny.
Yeah. It's like, and somehow this team is still competitive. Like, wow, they must have really good talent on this team. This sucks.
It's probably one of those things where they're kind of coaching themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they really go out of their way for this basketball coach. At one point, he's like trying to fold a jacket as he's trying to say his lines or whatever. As they're going off and ignoring him. But anyway, we watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Sure did.
Oh, man. And so, as you can intimate from Patrick's tone, he did not like this revisit so much.
All right. So this was on HBO all the time growing up. And I remember really having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And I have not revisited it in many, many years.
Same.
But I was a huge fan of the television show.
Ginormous fan.
Yeah, and I definitely saw the movie before the television show.
Yeah. But we have to give credit to the mother on that one because I thought, teased her at first about it. When she went to watch the show. And then I think, got hooked in like the last episode or two of the first season.
No, it was actually the season finale of the first episode.
And we were like,
season.
Oh my God, they just killed off the main character really quick here. This is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean...
And we were hooked.
Okay, so the television show is such a better version of what Joss Whedon intended.
Yeah,
and it reeks all over this movie. Just like, yeah, you blew it. It's like it's a super strong concept
stuff there. Yeah,
which is probably what made me like it so much and made me ignore all the faults in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some good stuff. I don't want to, say it's not trash.
Okay, good. Thank you.
This is not Split Second. This is this is not Sorceress. This is like it's not a bad movie. It's just like, this came down so far in my appreciation, and like it became a bit of a bummer to watch.
Yeah, I admit like it definitely doesn't at parts, and I probably rate one category probably inflated it a little high only because I really appreciated a lot of the lines and a lot of the comedy that did come through and the delivery a lot of times.
We're going to skip this. You're talking about Luke Perry, aren't you?
And Donald Sutherland, who is a treasure.
I actually think he is not good in this movie. I think Luke Perry is this hero of this movie.
I agree. I think he is top billing of like, I'm impressed, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff from you over the years, but you kind of nailed this part.
I actually haven't, but that's because I haven't watched a lot of 90210. Anytime I've seen him in anything else, I'm like, he's good. I like this guy. We should saw him in more stuff.
He was really good in this movie.
I'll never get you to watch Oz, but he was incredible on Oz.
You'd think he would get a ton of street cred for Oz alone.
It's funny. There's a cool story. I was reading about the making of this movie and whatnot, and Whedon apparently met with Luke Perry, and he was discussing so the first thing he asked Luke Perry was, "Have you ever seen Near Dark?" And Luke Perry just gave him this look like, "Come on, son." And Whedon's like, "All right, we're gonna get along."
I thought there was some great stuff from Sutherland, but I think the problem was there's the great stuff from Sutherland, they didn't give him enough of that to do more throughout the movie, and that's the fault. But it's a movie; they only have so much time.
It's if you I was going to go into it later, but whatever. Screw it.
Yeah.
The fault might be laying Donald Sutherland, because Donald Sutherland kept on changing his lines.
Oh, really?
And ad-libbing, and it drove Joss Whedon insane. And we know Joss Whedon now.
Yep. Yeah.
Is a dick. And I'm sure he was a bit of a diva
upsetting
about
because
all
he
this.
was like a hero for us for like a long time, and then you realize like, oh, you might be a terrible person. This is really awful.
Yeah. Now we know better, but it's still, I'm sure Whedon was a bit of a diva about like, don't change my lines, but still at the same time, like, I know this guy can write dialogue, so I was like, and like a lot of what Dylan was saying throughout this movie, like, what?
I think.
But he's still not the biggest problem in this movie. But
no.
let's get into it.
Let's get into it. It's your pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to give the thing. Go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Since the dawn of man, the vampires have walked among us, killing, feeding. The only one with the strength of skill to stop their heinous evil is the Slayer. She who wears the birthmark, the mark of the coven. Trained by the Watcher, one Slayer dies and the next is chosen.
I'm taken back by this. I was almost hoping as soon as you started doing that you were going to do more of an Anthony Stewart Head accent to it.
I wrote down the other one and I thought I might try that one.
Because when it starts, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the show really did try to do this every episode for a while until they finally were like, you know what? We don't have to do this.
People get the idea. We don't need to tell the premise of it. Yeah.
And it's like, luckily too, they turned Giles, who's the Watcher in the TV show, if you're not aware, they toned him down a little bit in that, like, the Slayer. Like it doesn't sound as bad later on. You know what I mean? Like
it's two damn sentences. They tone it down to.
Yeah.
And Anthony Stewart Head does the same dialogue as like the crazy trailer voice guy.
Yeah.
Is in every generation there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
Yeah.
Bam. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Cue the crazy theme song.
Which is a fantastic theme song. But, oh my gosh. This is going to turn into a bad thing where we talk about the show. Nerf Herder, right? Is it Nerf Herder?
Yeah. That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great show. It was a lot of fun. And I love Anthony Stewart Head. And it was, I think everybody else, and I fell in love with it too. But with Ted Lasso, I had such a hard time seeing Giles being the bad guy.
I like Anthony Stewart Head. He's always good.
He was great. He was fantastic in Ted Lasso. But at the same time, my mind is breaking. Like, oh my gosh, he's terrible. He's doing such a good job being terrible. And I'm like,
we tried to get into it. And we're off track already, Tim.
I know. I'm sorry. The show.
We got to control ourselves.
I know. So Hero.
Yeah, here's the biggest problem with the movie. No, it's not the biggest problem. Sorry, the next category is a bigger problem. No, the action category is the biggest problem with the movie.
Yeah.
So Buffy is a high school senior whose only care is clothes and boys until she finds out she is the Slayer. The Slayer. And she is meant to kill vampires.
Yep.
She has superhuman strength. She's great at gymnastics and gets menstrual cramps when vampires are near. Boy, I'm glad the television show dropped that one.
Yeah.
That last one. I was like, what?
They had one or two funny lines with it, like privacy much or whatever. There was a couple of times from Kirsty Swanson where it's rough, but then there was a few times.
Tim. I don't know. I think there's more than a few.
There's a few times where actually she has some nice delivery.
There are two times where she effing nailed the joke, and I was like, yeah!
Yeah.
But there are some times where I'm like watching this, and we're going to keep on referencing the television show. I apologize to everyone. It's a great show if you haven't watched it, but I was like watching
such a great show.
Man, Sarah Michelle Gellar would have hit that joke out of the park.
Such
a bummer.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is such a better actress, like night and day. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, but let's talk about what we got.
Yeah.
So Kirsty Swanson is like 22, 23 here, and she's not great at this. Sometimes she nails the joke, but more often than not, she falls flat. And like I said, I couldn't help but think of like you threw a knife at my head. Like that's one like Sarah Michelle Gellar joke she would have like knocked out of the park, and like it just kind of comes flat.
It's weird because in the same scene, right? I feel like she doesn't quite land, and I don't, to be honest, with the knife, throw the knife at my head. I don't think it's like, oof, that's awful. But
no, it's flat.
It is, and maybe we're again biased because immediately we're like, oh my gosh, Sarah Michelle would have again nailed
SMG.
that line.
But like 2 minutes later, like
she does the Sarah Michelle Gellar and die, or not Sarah Michelle. Sorry, I want to marry Christian Slater and die, like things that she wants to do or whatever. And I think she nails that delivery. I don't think that one Slater.
That one doesn't work for me. It's when she punches Donald Sutherland in the face.
Oh yeah, yep.
And she's stunned at how strong she is. She's like, I didn't even break a nail. And like that was actually when she worked for me.
And that is like still, right next to the marrying Christian Slater thing.
It's like literally right after, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that whole part worked really well.
Yeah, but it's like it's like 3/4 bad. Like, oh, look at this. And so it's like,
yeah, it's just inconsistent because it's like there'll be some lines too with her friends that you're like, eh. And then but then she delivers one of the lines with the friends. You're like, okay, that was really well nailed. Like the, how about the end zone? Oh yeah, we need to get rid of that.
The ozone, yeah.
Yeah. And
this is like
that was a nice
like,
delivery.
15 minutes of the movie is like dedicated to like letting you know that Buffy is a vapid dunce.
Oh yeah,
like
that they're all horrible.
Yeah, but she's like extra bad. But like so like she has like, I have no sense of history. He wears a brown tie.
Yeah.
Excuse me for not knowing about El Salvador. Like I'm ever going to Spain anyway.
Yep.
And just the line you say, it's like, how about the ozone layer? Oh yeah, we need to get rid of that. It's like, what? And it just keeps on hammering it over and over and over again over the head, like, dummy. We get it.
Yeah. And not having really any interest, but that kind of stuff. But then again, you'd have moments like with the jacket, which is kind of fun. Jacket. Yeah, the yellow jacket with the friends kind of stuff. And I feel like I could have totally saw that in an episode of, you know what I mean? Not to keep doing that, but so yeah, I get what you're saying. I think there was some good stuff. It's just very uneven, as you're saying.
Really, I love the fact that Buffy's entire friend group in the beginning of the movie is all wearing jean jackets. It's like there's no mistaking when this movie was made. This is early 90s.
It is so early 90s. It's nuts. Yeah.
They're all at a mall and they're all wearing jean jackets. Welcome to the 90s.
Yeah. And of course, like Luke Perry is like in the grunge look and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And on top of her saying all this stupid nonsense, we have her it's again in the same first 15 minutes of the movie. She's in the movie theater with her friends talking loudly during the movie that everyone can hear. And I'm
things that you would, yeah.
It's like, man, you're going to the special hell. Like, don't talk during the movie. Like, ugh.
Yeah. But then they're also bad people too, so it's kind of interesting.
Sure.
But we'll talk more about them later.
Can we real quick shout out? This is not against her, but just it's funny. Like all the flashback wigs on everybody are so horrendously bad.
It's not
you'd
just
think
the wigs.
They just got this from like a high school production. All the wigs and the costumes. Like,
because I really feel like the costumes and the set designs of the flashbacks are really bad.
Yeah, they're rough looking.
They're really not good. Yeah,
but like the wigs they put Christy Swanson and Rutger Hauer in are like, what are we doing?
Yeah. It's not great. And that's actually one of the problems, because I mean with Villain, I guess later, but they keep putting Rutger Hauer in some terrible looks. Although better than Split Second.
Pays off at the end.
Yeah. Really does.
Also, a quick shout out for the Buffy heads who might have watched the television show. Buffy in every version of this character always attracted to a man in a dark long coat. And I gotta ask you a question, Tim. Do you think it was an intentional choice to have Christy Swanson's nipples hard in like 3/4 of the movie?
That's a really great question.
I was like, Jesus, put them away. What are we
it
doing
is
that here?
A lot of tight shirts.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, they're ready to go. It really makes some of this stuff with Sutherland really really creepy at times.
Yeah.
But I at the same time, like I kind of enjoy it because again there was some fun humor between the two of them with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a little weird. I mean, I can't wait to talk about her and the Luke Perry character, which is also really weird and uncomfortable.
Well, speaking of, I have one note here for her with those two characters.
Yeah.
Maybe the worst on-screen kiss I've ever seen in a movie between two characters who are supposed to have chemistry. I mean...
Yeah.
What the F was that? It's like they both were like, we're not into this. When they started, like...
Yeah. It just felt off the entire time. Mm-hmm. Like it's probably the worst parts of the movie. It's the chemistry really isn't there.
Luke Perry is trying his ass off. He really is. Them
having romantic feelings for each other really just doesn't make sense and is straight up creepy because we don't get an age for them. I was wondering about that. Clearly older.
Yeah, so here's a high school teacher had his antennas up.
Oh my god!
How old are you, son?
Yeah, like seriously, here's this adult freaking man in this prom. He's only full on making out with her in the middle of the floor. Like this is not okay.
All right, so Luke Perry is only like 3 years older than Christy Swanson.
I know, but in the movie setting, to be fair, she's a senior in this version. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is different than Buffy Summers. It's funny that Buffy doesn't actually get a last name in this movie. Nobody gets a last name.
Nobody, yeah. I don't think anybody does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more quick notes for this character because I'm running out.
Oh.
So I'm going to do a good one and a bad one. So there are 2 jokes I think that Swanson really lands in this movie. The break a nail thing, which I already mentioned. And then when she's having her final confrontation with, how do you say Paul Rubin's character name?
Oh.
Was it Amelin?
Shoot, that's a good question.
I didn't even know it until I read it. I was like, oh. Anyway, Paul Rubens.
Because I kept calling him. Yeah, exactly. I kept calling him Paul throughout I kept just typing in Paul instead of his character's name.
Fair enough. So she's having a confrontation with Paul Rubens, and it was like the evil henchman vampire, and he's like, "We're immortal, Buffy. We can do anything." Oh yeah, clap.
Oh yeah, that's a great delivery.
That's a fantastic line delivery on her part.
Great delivery.
It's a great joke. Made me actually LOL.
I agree.
I can't say that out loud.
It is amazingly well delivered. I also don't know if she technically gets credit for it. Maybe it's the costume designer, but the look of, and I know they try to redo it in the TV show, and I'll have to say the movie here does it better. With the white dress that gets torn off on the bottom, the black leather coat. And she's got like these white Doc Marten boots with it.
They're like boxing boots. That's what they are. They are actually boxing boots.
Are they? They look like Doc Martens.
They're not. They're boxing boots.
They look awesome. The whole outfit looks awesome.
You think they look awesome?
I think the whole outfit looks awesome. I think you're crazy. I think the whole outfit looks great.
Ooh, no.
I loved it. As soon as she walks into the dance, I'm like, are those Doc Martens? They looked fantastic. I liked it, dude. I thought it was good.
Okay. All right. So,
I mean, it was lame how it perfectly came off her dress. It was kind of ridiculous, but
well, the little tear. So we allow her to do flips and jumps. Yeah.
Yeah. Which how many do you think that like it looked like she could do some of it? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I'm just popping my head up on screen once we come close. It looks like she was able to do like maybe one or something. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe she could start it off. I don't know.
Or just finish one or something.
This movie had 5 weeks of production. That's all they had because they had to accommodate Luke Perry's 90210 schedule. So like that really explains why the action in this movie is beyond terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's one point in her training sequence too where they conveniently like block everything she's doing flips in front of. There's things in front of the camera to block her face as she's doing flips. But they seem to always like pan out to see her finishing it or something. So it seemed like she wasn't just popping up. So I don't know.
Right. Fair enough. Do you have anything else you want to say about Buffy before we wrap up this character? Buffy.
I don't know. I did like the delivery of when Pike there is like, you're not like other girls, and she's like, yes, I am. I thought it was a nice delivery too. So I would give her credit there too.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be about it.
Oh, okay. I gave her a 2.
I went 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Not too crazy there. I don't think it was
Nope,
that bad.
no, not too far off. So, villain.
This one bummed me out.
We don't get enough of them.
Really don't. And most of what you get is a lot of giggling and laughing.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
very
And-
weird at the beginning of the movie.
Like, it's really weird. Like, there's a lot of just like and like giggles and laughs, and it's really bizarre. And I had so much higher hopes and expectations memory wise of what I remembered, and like the part, there's still parts that hit that you're like, yes, but it's too few and far between, and the most of it is just, again, weird laughter and noises. And like the first time you see Paul Rubens' character, he's just making weird freaking noises on a carousel. He does look a little creepy, but it's just some like I was more distracted by like what is this noise that he is making on this carousel?
He's hungry? I don't know.
It was bizarre.
All right, well, that's it. So the main villain is the master vampire Lothos.
Yes.
What a name.
Which they never called him master or anything like that.
Well, Rubens called him master a couple times.
Okay.
So I just called him the master vampire.
Yeah, no, dude,
This
now
is,
you're
this is
you're
a little
bleeding
rubbing on
with
the TV show. No doubt. But he's Lothos, played by Rutger Hauer. He doesn't have nearly enough screen time in this movie because
And
when they let him
nothing is
work,
explained.
when everyone clears out for him,
Yeah.
he's so much fun.
Oh, he's a lot of fun. But you just see his hand at first in some flashbacks. You barely see
Or him
anymore.
floating down from the
Right, exactly.
ceiling. Like, what are we doing?
He cooks more later in the movie for sure.
Yeah, like the last 12 minutes he gets to cook. And it's like,
Maybe.
here we go.
Yeah. And really, where he really cooks the most is the final fight,
Yeah, well,
which is, oh, come on.
we'll get into that part.
Okay, fair But
so,
yeah, is any of the having to wait? She needs to be ready. Why does this keep happening with all the former Slayers? Is any of that ever explained?
no.
No. Okay. I just want to make sure there was anything I missed, but
No, there's nothing.
Nothing.
It's just like,
Absolutely
she's not ready. I'm like, for
Why?
what?
for what? Yeah.
Which is kind of what Paul Rubens' character has. Like, who cares? Let's just kill her.
Well, I did like the well, why don't we just go and kill her now? And he's like, well, I want to dance.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I like it.
Well, it's also weird. Like they make it like a big deal. Like, the Slayer is unmasked. We know who she is. We had to hide the identity of the Slayer before this.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Because they'll hunt her.
wait, didn't you send that vampire to that basketball game as a trap for her, bringing her to you knew who she was.
They
What
were
are we
all
doing?
waiting there. But I guess just because you know her visually doesn't mean you know her name or anything.
Yeah, but the guy who sent the basketball game to high school with her, he knows who she is. They interact in the very beginning of the movie.
I guess he didn't have time to communicate. Because she kills
I
that
guess.
vampire before they meet up with Lothos.
Still, but like,
Which, by the way, that's another weird one in action on how she takes that vampire out. But
yeah, we'll get to that later.
yeah.
So one little bit. So yeah, like you said, for the most of this movie, Lothos is just not talking. He's just like, putting his hand up to be kissed from MacGuffin. It's always he's a hand.
Yeah.
Or
And I
he's
guess
floating down from the ceiling.
right.
About
Is
to
he-
go and kill somebody.
Clearly, they lost their forces or something because they have to replenish their forces. That's kind of the thing that you're kind of intimating at least that you get from Paul Rubens' character. Like, soon we'll be strong enough type of deal and we'll regain our forces. So you have no idea or any context to what happened, why they need to do this, or again, anything. It's yes. This is the weakest part of the movie, I think.
I like that Lothos grabs a kitty and says he's going to have a snack.
Yeah, that was disturbing. I mean,
Vampires
I know
eat cats now?
we're not cat people, but it was still like, ooh,
Yeah, right.
I don't like this.
So it's like I said, this character is not great until finally Lothos meets Buffy. in a place where they store floats, I'm guessing for the Rose Bowl parade? I don't know.
I don't think it was. Oh, no, it looked like old amusement park rides.
I think those are floats.
Down. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they're floats, buddy.
You think like for the Rose Bowl or some shit?
That's what I'm saying. I think they're all floats.
I don't think so. They didn't look like that. They looked like amusement park rides.
It's not an amusement park ride.
How do you know that?
Because I'm looking at it.
You're looking at it right now, like at pictures?
Yeah.
You doing your homework? Shit, all right. It didn't look like that to me, but all right, fine. They looked metal. They looked a lot of metal. I don't know.
These are very elaborate floats. It's a good
enough.
scene for Lothos since it finally establishes him as a real threat.
Right.
Because he sees Buffy and he immediately hypnotize her.
Yeah.
And he's only stopped by an interfering Merrick, who is immediately killed by Lothos.
Right.
And we'll get into why that's all very important later. But it's like, okay, cool. All right, here we go.
And he leaves for no reason because apparently she's not ready, which again makes no sense, but okay.
Yep, doesn't make a lick of one. I love Howard's subtle shake of his head when he declines to save Paul Reubens from Buffy and continues to play the violin.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a great one. It is really good.
And he looks for him like, you gonna help me with this? He's like, no. Oh.
But then it leads to one of the greatest part of this whole movie.
Yeah, and I'll get into that in a second. I want to give him his own section. I don't want to interfere with Paul Reubens.
Fair enough.
That's why I'm skipping it.
Because again, I guess this is what I was bummed out about. Because again, so much of this movie is Paul Reubens making weird noises and laughing, and he doesn't really get to do much more than that. And again, it's not till like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
It's not even that much, man.
Again, well, I mean, even before that, like, because when Lothos starts really moving around, like, basically when he loses his arm.
Yeah.
After he loses his arm, there's more communication between him and his master. And this is where everything kicks up a notch between the two of them. Like, he takes it, you can see this conversation between the two.
I know you want to get into Reubens, but I'm begging you. I want to give him his own section. So let's just finish off Lothos.
Okay.
Because Reubens is like I think Luke Perry is the star of this movie. He's the best part. I think it's followed by very close to a hell of a hot streak, Paul Reubens, who really shines with the very limited time he's given.
I think you're right. Perry is the most consistent throughout the movie.
He's got the most, yeah.
But some of the highs of
No.
Of Reubens
there is nobody has a better scene in this movie than Paul Reubens.
Yes,
but
exactly.
I'm gonna. But anyway, let's finish off Lothos real quick.
Yes.
So Buffy tries a crucifix on Lothos, and he disappointedly retorts, "This is your defense? Please." It's just like a really funny line to come out of Rutger Hauer's mouth. It's really good.
It's fantastic. It's really good.
Quick question for you, buddy. Where the hell did Lothos get that samurai sword?
I don't know. I don't think anything's explained Lothos-wise, so...
Do you think, like, the people who made this were just, like, really big fans of the Highlander at the time? It's like, oh, he's got a katana.
Well, who
cool.
Would be, right? Although this is, like, during bad... No, wait, when did
the television show's out now?
I guess that's true.
Television shows got some good stuff.
You're right.
Duncan MacLeod, the Clan MacLeod.
We're such nerds.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. And then he like rapid fires towards the end of the movie saying bitch, calling her a bitch a lot.
Well,
to the point where I'm a little like, all right, this is getting a little much.
Before he even gets into Buffy, he whips out a sword and like approaches like the high school class. It's like, I'm gonna send you screaming to the pits of hell. Ha! Trust me. It's like, whoa. Rutger Hauer's like, I'm going for it now. It's like,
I wish it was throughout the whole movie. It was so much fun during this. Again, it's that ending fight where all of a sudden he turns it up to like 11. Like he just goes all out in that part, and it's so much fun.
Well, even before that, actually, I want to rewind. I should have mentioned this earlier. So, like, when Luke Perry kicks the music off that's playing from the gym, the dance.
Yeah.
Somehow Buffy knocks out of a trance This part is super weird and awkward and doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because apparently there was some line about silence or something.
When the music stops, Merrick says when he dies. But regardless,
that part.
Yeah. Buffy's like, oh yeah, he said that, and she's like out of the trance somehow. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But regardless, what's really funny is when she's like talking to herself and coming out of the trance.
Because the music's not there for
Rucker
all
Hauer
the trance parts.
As Lothos is behind her, going like, "What's going on? We were about to get it on." It's like he's like the boyfriend who like the girlfriend just like had a thought and like went away. Like, no, come back. We're gonna fool around right now. It's like everything going behind her back is really funny to me.
Yeah, it's all his mannerisms with it.
Yeah,
and
it's like, huh?
He's got some great facial expressions. Like, I don't understand this, and I'm very frustrated right now. And,
yeah.
And that's what you're getting from it. It's great energy.
It's really, really funny.
Yeah.
So anyway, eventually they have. Well, we'll get into that part. So Buffy stakes Lothos, and he says, "Now I'm really pissed off." And then she kicks the stake and pushes it further. He's like, "Oops!" And he puts up this really great look on his face. He falls down and he covers his own face with his cape.
I missed the face of the cape part, but
he's like, ugh.
The line deliveries there is so good because it's such a the way he delivers it is so good. Like the first line is almost like gravelly, like more gravel-ish sounding, and then,
now I'm really pissed off.
Yeah, and then she kicks it, and then it just goes to a oops. Like it's so good. I don't know. It's funny.
So weird. So Lothos' top henchman, and like honestly, did not catch the name throughout the movie. Had to read this.
Paul Rubens.
Amelin, played by Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman himself. R.I.P. Miss you, buddy.
Yes.
And like Tim said, he just does not have enough screen time in this movie.
Well, he actually gets more than Lothos. Because
yeah,
Lothos
but like
is chilling out in a coffin, but they don't allow him to do anything.
Yeah, like I said, he's mostly just staring at people
and making weird noises.
Yeah,
or saying "my master." Like that's it. Like he's not able to do anything, and it's not till again the end of the movie where they allow the villains to be villains.
Well,
really,
let's start off with like his first really great line in the movie is like after while chasing Pike down, he gets his arm cut off. He gets his vampire crew together. He's like, "You ruined my new jacket. Kill him a lot."
Yes, and it's I can't express this enough if you didn't actually watch the movie, people. But it is the most Paul Rubens comes out in that moment. Where
it's
kill him a lot. Like the enunciation, the way it is. You could not be more Paul Rubens in that moment, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, well, the ultimate part of this movie comes later on.
Yeah.
It is the best scene in the movie. Paul Rubens' death scene.
It's so good it comes back as a post-credits scene. This is so before its time with post-credits, and here it is.
So Buffy stakes him.
It's gorgeous.
And he just kind of refuses to die. He has like this 10-minute death scene. Ooh, and then he like kicks the wall as he's going down, which is probably my favorite part that makes me laugh every time.
Noises, and then he falls to the ground, but then he comes back up into a squatting position, making these noises, and then he kicks the wall.
Well, yeah, it starts off where he gets staked, he goes down, and then he comes back up like, oh,
yeah,
and then he goes down again.
You think he falls to the ground? Like it's. Do you think? That was like a second take because like he did it in a first take. And you're like, all right, we're filming this. Hold on, let's do this again.
It was entirely improvised by Paul Rubens.
What in one take, and they managed to catch all of that. And
I don't know, but it was like the idea was all Paul Rubens.
Okay. I admit, I feel like that's got to be it. Like it was his idea.
It is a bit of comedic genius. Yeah,
yeah. But I'm wondering if it was like he did it in a take, and we're like, hold on, there's some genius going on. Let's redo that. Do it again.
I think it was more like, okay, like everybody get out of his way. He's still going. Okay. We're gonna let this go.
Just go.
Just like they just call Chris, get out of the camera frame. I want to keep on watching how far he goes.
I have to. You have to too. Also give Christy Swanson some credit in that beginning part of it, at least, because I would be dying in that.
Oh,
movie.
that she didn't break.
She didn't break. Jimmy Fallon, it'd be game over.
Fair enough. So I got nothing else to say about villains because there's just not enough of them. All the vampires in this movie are lame. What's with the spiky ears that everyone else gets and the head vampires don't?
I don't know. That's a good point. It's another thing where, again, the TV show does such a better job.
Yeah.
And I find it's another interesting change because they do in this movie, every time a vampire dies, their body's just there with the stake in it, right?
Yeah.
And
They don't turn into dust
They
immediately.
turn into dust, right? It's way more convenient because it's a little troublesome. Like, wow, there's a lot of dead bodies with these wood things in the chest,
It's
right?
gonna be an awkward explanation later.
Yeah, this is not good, right? So it's like, wow, what a better change for later on, right? Very troublesome. But yeah, it's you're right. There's just not enough here for villain wise, which is a shame because I think when they are allowed to shine, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So what'd you give it?
I gave it a 2.5 again.
So did I. So let's get to the worst part of this movie.
Yeah, well, this is weird because I think I might be higher here.
And
Just
you
because
get lower than what I bit, so
yeah, well, I just thought there were so many funny parts. There was some good funny stuff, and I put a lot of it in action, maybe wrongfully so.
all right. Well, why don't you lead us off, Tim? Since you like this category.
All right, so I guess the first kind of action you get is a flashback.
Yep, that's what I have written down.
Yeah, and so it's mostly lame. Although I thought the jumping out of the window looked legit, and
that was like
good.
I wrote that down. I was like, that's a pretty good bit of action right there.
Yeah,
Jumping out the
that
window
wasn't
and falling
bad.
on the guy for the horse.
I think you can make jumping out of windows look bad, and you can make it look pretty good, and that looked pretty good.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
But that's about it.
Good
from
luck on the
from
rest.
That moment, yeah.
Yeah.
The next bit of action I guess you get after that is the slicing of the hot dog as Benny's making it look like his
Thank
wiener.
you for bringing that up.
It's terrible.
Right?
That is really
Why even
bad.
have this in the movie? It's so
Yeah.
dumb. Why, they
It's-
don't show it.
They
It's
don't.
all off screen. You just see
It
her grab
is.
the knife. You hear a noise.
Yeah,
And
and
it's like,
it takes forever to go
Yeah.
through it. So it looks it's like maybe if it was faster, it would have came off more like, oh wow. But because it was so jaunty and like
It just goes to a bunch of people's facial reactions to what happened. You hear a noise, like
and that's
and then-
why.
and then-
But that's what
then he
makes it
holds up the
sound
hot
like
dog
it
and
takes
slices in half.
forever.
you killed my dog.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's real bad.
It is bad. I feel like it could have been cool.
If
It
they
was
had
bad.
tried to show it, but yeah, no, it's
No,
garbage.
or maybe they didn't have to show it, but they could have edited it better. Like just made it quicker or something.
Yeah.
It just
Move
it
on.
just- it
Next
sucked.
one. What else you got? We agreed with that.
I have the next bit as Sutherland to pull up as he tries to recover Pike off the floor.
Okay.
Because it's a nice Paul Rubens coming up from behind as he's floating off the ground type, because they keep showing they're really high up sitting on this ledge type of deal. And then you do have a nice Paul Rubens moment of like, ha, like, he coming up to grab
And he
Benny.
grabs David Arquette. Yeah.
Yeah, grabs David Arquette. So I kind of like that part.
Okay.
Again, maybe a little weak, but whatever. Then you do see some training from her and her tumbling. They kept calling it tumbling.
You're skipping the graveyard. Oh, okay. You're
No,
at
we're
the
not
gym
there
still.
yet. We're not
Okay.
there yet. Yeah,
Sorry.
we're just seeing her kind of practicing or whatever, and conveniently
Yeah,
covering
the
up her face.
The stunt woman does a fine job. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Of tumbling.
Yeah, exactly. But I find it so funny they keep like, because there's so many times with Sutherland, it's just like the tumbling, like I just find it so funny how he keeps doing
It's
that.
so
but
obnoxious how often they have her do the flips. Like, couldn't you just walk? Wouldn't that be a little bit faster?
sometimes it
It's
would be way more
inefficient.
convenient to run or walk and not
Yeah.
do flips for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this then goes to the graveyard basically after this, right?
Woo.
So she's convinced to go to a graveyard to fight some vampires or watch some graves, and she's not quick on it. And then Sutherland is trying to jump in, but immediately gets taken. He's like, Buffy, and but anyway,
It was a good impression.
thank you. So anyway, so this leads to some action here, where Buffy has to come in and basically eventually save the day and stakes a couple of vampires. I didn't think it was anything too bad there.
All they do is like roll around on the ground and arm handle each other. Like she gets the one vampire.
I know.
From the back,
I like.
and then
Yeah,
the other
she
one
stabs
comes
one
running.
from behind, which I thought was because she kind of is like not in the shot, and you think Sutherland's going to get it, and then all of a sudden a vampire gets staked.
The most impressive bit of action is Christy Swanson catching the stake that Sutherland tosses to her. It's crap. It's really bad.
We've seen worse of catching an atom and using it, but anyway, sure.
I guess the level of action in this movie is approaching Beastmaster trash.
No, I actually think it's still better than Beastmaster. Beastmaster is so bad, dude. I don't know.
I think that final samurai sword versus flagpole fight is as bad as anything in Beastmaster. But go on, sir.
I disagree. There's nothing slower than Beastmaster, other than what's that other with the twins? But that was worse.
Sorceress.
Yeah, that was definitely worse.
Right.
But anyway, so she stabs one from behind, stabs the other. Like she tries to help, and then another one comes out of the ground and trips her and all that kind of stuff before she again stabs one from behind and stakes the other one. But anyway.
Yep.
I'm going to say in this category the scene between Pike and Benny when Pike meets Benny, now a vampire.
I have this actually in.
This is an action moment. This is an action moment. It's a horror movie. It is a comedy horror movie. This is an action moment.
All right.
And this scene is awesome.
Well, it's awesome because Luke Perry is funny in it. And
I think
David
Benny
Arquette's not bad either.
David Arquette is also great in this scene. And to be fair, if anything, you have to give it they're homaging Salem's Lot, like hardcore Salem, which still freaks me out to this day.
Well, that's an actually scary scene.
Yeah, the Salem's Lot. Again,
for
TV
laughs.
movie, like freaked me out. But it is a great freaking scene. And the both of them pull it off, I think, incredibly well.
You're floating! Come on, man! Get away! Get out of here!
He pulls it like, come on, Benny! Like,
yeah.
What do you want me to do here, man? You're floating. Like it's really well. And then David Arquette's going, I'm hungry, and doing that whole thing the whole time. It's great. I really love that scene.
Yeah, I love Arquette is actually kind of creepy in this scene. Like you said, like I'm hungry. Come on, it's good stuff. What you got next?
Wow, that was it. That's all you gave me. Oh, okay.
Well, I have it. It's not an action scene. It's more of like I love Luke Perry, but yeah, I hear it for Arquette too. It's good.
It is an action scene because we're in horror, and that is a horror comedy moment in this movie. It's action. I'm putting it. It works. But okay.
All right.
Then after that, we basically get a training montage. So montage.
Even Rocky had a montage.
Yeah. And they really love this move of her doing a tumble to the ground and throwing a stake. So it's a big thing, and she can't quite hit her heart mark, but we keep coming back to this move quite a bit. Just putting that out there. Then she has a meeting with her principal, who again, I can't wait to talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I'm keep saving that for later. You're really gonna put down her spitting the tack at the fly as an action scene? You are desperate.
Wow. You're mean. Okay, so then she's going through like a little period of like I'm feeling helpless and trying to taunt a vampire to come get her. And she tries the stake thing. It doesn't work, so she has a little action beat there with taking that vampire out.
This is another one that SMG would have just absolutely killed.
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, I'm pretending to be helpless. Come and stop me. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
more sarcastic, and yeah.
It just doesn't quite land with Swanson. I'm sorry. And this is
I think it's fine. I think the problem is we know how much better Sarah Michelle Gellar is.
This is my biggest problem with the action in this movie is like 90%, and I'm probably being generous with that 90%, is probably quite higher, of her moves in this movie are one high kick to the face, you're down, I stake you. Done. And it's like it happens every damn time. And it's not entirely the movie's fault. They had like zero time for production in this thing. They had to get this thing out real fast to accommodate schedules, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Sorry. It's, you know, I got to judge what's on the screen. It stinks.
All right, so then we get to the Pike is trying to leave town, and
no scene made me angrier in this movie.
Really?
What was with the music?
I don't even remember. What do you mean?
They have some like, so it starts off cool enough. So Pike is trying to get out of town. The van breaks down, and
then vampires basically appear.
Bam! Yeah, Paul Rubens is there with a couple of vampire dudes.
We were apparently out for their first hunt,
right?
Which the master will be mad at later.
Yeah,
because you were too concerned about your arm. It's just such a ridiculous scene.
So Luke Perry tries to gun it, and he brings Paul Rubens along for the ride, and he is on top of the van, like holding on for life or whatever, while Luke Perry's trying to get him off. And there's this music playing in the background. It's super low. It's slow. It's almost like this cruising. I don't know. It's cruising. It's like a soft cruising song, and it just destroys any tension in the movie. It's just like, this sucks.
It's weird. I didn't pick up on this at all.
Oh, it's absolute garbage.
Okay.
And I hate it. It could have been a fine, good scene if the music was blasting and pumping, but it's like,
right.
It's got like a that kind of tempo.
It's weird. I don't know why this didn't register with me. But okay.
You're too excited about seeing Paul Rubens doing something.
Maybe he's actually doing something. He's punching through a roof.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, again, there's a whole lot of grunting and laughing again from him, so he's not doing a whole lot more than that after punching through the roof. Because again, all the fun stuff comes after that with, you ruined my jacket and all that kind of stuff comes more.
Kill him a lot.
Kill him a lot is great. One gets killed by a stake, the other gets killed by the piece of guitar.
The exact same move. High kick to the face, down, stake you. High kick to the face, down, stake you. I rewatched it this morning to am I crazy? It was like, nope, that's literally what she does for each one.
Okay.
And the one cool thing is, of course, is that Paul Rubens loses his arm here. And he's on top of the van, and he's trying to reach through the ceiling, and that's where he hits a tree branch, and he gets knocked off, and he loses.
And he sees the tree branch, and it is a very moment, but which is fun. And then after that, basically, you're at a basketball game. And
we're skipping a part.
Are we?
Actually, yeah. Maybe the best action move in the movie is I don't know what the kid's name. I think it was Andy. He grabs Buffy's ass.
Oh yeah.
And she flips him in the hallway, and it's a good flip.
Okay.
It's like, oh, this is wow, look at that.
I actually had that under Hero because I kind of liked her, the way she acted, and I liked her in that scene.
Yeah.
But I get it, the flip wise being action oriented. But yeah, I liked her comment back and all that kind of stuff.
Don't touch me.
yeah, don't touch me, and then the boyfriend is truly terrible as well. It's just
Jeffrey.
Oh, it's nice to feel needed in his sarcasm. What the hell's your problem?
I don't know. It's another.
Get your hand off my thing. It's ugh. So makes me feel gross. But yeah. So anyway, after that, I have the vampire shows back up to play basketball on the basketball team. And I find this scene funny and hilarious, and he's kicking everybody's ass, and everybody's really scared. But be like, we can't keep doing this. Like, we gotta get him off the court.
He's not really kicking anyone's butt. He does one dunk, and he floats down and stuff. Everyone's just kind of freaked out by how gross he is. And
yeah, I still enjoy it.
I was gonna save this for later, but screw it. This is like where Ben Affleck pops up for his film debut,
and he's dubbed.
He just hands the ball to the guy. He's like, here, take it.
Yeah, because he's just so grossed by it.
Yeah.
And I love when he comes, that vampire comes and sits down on the bench, and he's clearly a vampire at this point. And he like turns to the guy behind him on the bench. He's like, "Go team, go!" And it's so flamboyant, and I love it. I actually love that delivery.
Okay.
You don't like it, but I liked it. I thought it was funny. But anyway, and then eventually Buffy decides to do something about it and goes and trips him. Kind of does this.
She sweeps the leg.
Yeah, sweeps the leg, does this whole soccer slide kick type of thing, which was cool. And then she's chasing after him, and then she decides to get a motorcycle to help chase after him, and then she takes out a biker to go get it. You want to say something?
Conveniently, as she's chasing him down on this motorcycle, Pike is also helping fix motorcycle, sees Buffy go by, gets on the dirt bike that he was fixing.
He was not fixed. He was getting it fixed by some random weirdo in the middle of the freaking night in this like almost alley looking thing.
I assume
really
his job as a mechanic, he was helping fix it.
No, he wasn't the one getting it. The other dude was fixing it that he was with, which I thought was really weird. Because I made a note about that. I was like, wait a minute, I thought he was the mechanic. Why is this other dude fixing it? And why is this happening at night?
It's weird.
Very weird. But anyway, so I do like the interaction with the biker. And of course he gets embarrassed, so he's like yelling awful things at her. Anyway, like basically calling her a dyke, and I'm gonna tell everybody kind of stuff. So chases him off to the, which I thought was abandoned music park rides. Not an abandoned music park, but just like where they store them is what I thought. Apparently it's floats. But anyway, so there's a whole altercation there with him. And I'm really confused on how she takes out the vampire. Because she does some flips and does like straddle him at the shoulders to take the vampire down, but there's clearly no scene to show any staking, like at all. But apparently the vampire's just dead, and as they're walking away, you see a stake. Like
the only one who does any staking in this scene is Luke Perry coming to the rescue.
Yeah, he does, and with funny jokes. But we'll again,
save it for Luke.
Cross that bit later. He calls her a dyke. That's what it was. Sorry, just came bad that part. Sorry. Anyway, so there's some fun dialogue. Are you wagging that jaw of yours? Are you addressing I? We'll come back to more of that later. But anyway, come on, Lefty. And then anyway, anybody's about to fight, and then that gets kind of broken up and stopped by Sutherland dying. So sad. Anyway, then you kind of get towards the ending part of the movie and the dance, and the vampires come into the dance. Luckily, we have Luke Perry and Pike here, /Pike, who's got a bag full of solutions, which is stakes that he's been whittling as she's been shopping. And so she basically ignores everyone dying as she goes to try to hunt for Lothos, which is my biggest issue with the movie.
Okay, so here's what actually happens.
What actually happens? I'm sorry, you're all wrong. Let me jump. Come on. What do you...
Yeah. You are. So here's what actually happens. So she gets the bag from Luke Perry, and she says she's going to go fight the vampires or Coast, who like, we'll come in if you don't come out. So she goes out, and she goes out. She does her patented like 10 flips for no reason.
Right.
Kicks like 3 vampires in the face, and then jumps a fence.
Yeah.
So like they hadn't actually killed anybody yet. They just decided to do that afterwards. There's no reason for her to actually start like running away and going someplace else.
Yep.
Oh, and she passes like her ex-boyfriend or suddenly new ex-boyfriend making out with a friend in a convertible in a car. It's like, okay.
Are they making out or doing other things?
They have clothes on, so I'm assuming making out at the moment.
I don't know, because she makes the line. That was quick. But anyway.
I missed it. But yeah, that's it. So it's like she's not ignoring. Like, I don't know if there was like a bit, like it got deleted, like the master wants you over in that building or something like that. But it is weird. Super weird that she goes over there. But they haven't killed anybody yet. So it's not on her that she knows that they're going to go in.
I guess. I don't know. A lot of people are dying as she's kind of going off doing this stuff. Right,
but they're not dying while she's she doesn't. They're not.
She doesn't visually see them all dying before she leaves, sure, but it's a little, I don't know. It's a
really bad action scene. Like,
it's not a good look.
Absolutely trash. By the way, the first person she kicks is Seth Green. You only see the back of his head.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's Oz, man.
Yeah, that's right.
We're such nerds. I'm such a nerd. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just, lots more gymnastics tumbling.
A lot of gymnastics tumbling. A lot
vampires just stand around like
exactly waiting for them to get hit. So yeah, it's not a great.
No vampires get slayed in this scene.
They really don't. And then you kind of get the impression that Luke Perry is kind of taking down all these vampires, but he only really takes down 2. But then you see bodies everywhere, which clearly Buffy didn't kill later. I mean, later you see the bodies, and clearly Buffy's
But she
gone.
takes credit for it. She's just like, I did that. And she's like,
yeah.
Oh.
That's why I was like, I kind of wanted to be like, raising my hand at watching the movie. I'm like, no, you didn't. Because I don't know how any of these vampires died, because it was neither of you, really.
Yeah.
So it was a really weird moment. Really, really weird.
Anyway, Lothos and Buffy have one final fight. Samurai sword versus the flag of California. It's slow. It's terrible. Let's not talk about it anymore. This category, it's a 1 from me.
I gave it a 2.
That is insane. Tim loves tumbling. He can't get enough of it.
It's not, but you're making me rate it like I should be rating action movies. I'm not rating it based on action movies. I'm rating it on it's a horror comedy that features some action. And so I thought there's some fun stuff that was kind of creepy. There was some fun some fun deaths to go with it. And so yeah, there was and comedy that went with it, and it's a horror comedy, so I put that all into action. So there were some things that made me laugh. So there's things I appreciated in the action. So yeah, I don't think it's as bad as you say. If I was to rate it based on it being action, then yeah, this would be horrendous.
I just, I'm not getting good action. I'm not getting good horror. And the jokes are basically all dialogue. It's not in this stuff. So I'm like, what are we doing here?
I gave it a 2. So
okay,
I disagree.
So let's get to a more fun topic. Mentor, sidekick. We get both in this movie.
That's true. We rarely get mentor in general. So
yeah, the bang bang.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland plays Merrick, which he has the strangest backstory ever.
Yeah, also not quite clear.
It's very weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We find out he keeps getting reincarnated to train Slayers.
Yeah.
And I guess has total memory call every time he gets reincarnated.
He would have been a wonderful bootmaker.
He also looks ridiculous walking around L.A. with a fedora, a long coat, and a scarf everywhere.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, this is not the town for that look.
But it's not like that happens all that much. But yeah,
it's the only thing he wears in the movie. Something that, I don't know. Something that is weird in this movie. his character is like never supposed to interfere, and it's almost like he's taken that trait into his acting in this. Takes forever for him to warm up to Buffy, but even when he's frustrated, it's like he's just getting out the lines. That's coming off to me. It's just I don't know. Like, there's some stuff that I like. Like I like the little mustache puff that he gives himself before he throws the knife at her. It's like a really weird acting choice. It's like
it is kind of nuts that the hand motions he gives himself in that scene. It is
like, I'm really loving
nuts.
this fake facial hair they gave me. Like,
but I loved it anyway.
I that part made me laugh. Like, I like this. But then, like I said, it's like, it's like you could feel him like not really feeling this, and like you're reading the backstory, like he was not feeling this. It's just making stuff up as he goes along. Can we talk about real quick about Merrick's like special steak that he gets
with
killed
the weird
with?
demonic cross thing that's on it?
It's got like a little vampire gargoyle at the end.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like really elaborate.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about Sutherland. I didn't.
Wow. I'm
sorry.
Man. I thought everything between a lot of them I thought actually was fun. I really enjoyed. There was plenty of just patented like eye roll stuff from Sutherland that I thought was fantastic.
Do you have any gum?
Oh yeah.
No,
but he oh my god, the way he delivered that line was amazing. Actually, I thought that was like a chef's kiss kind of a moment from Sutherland. Like it was perfect. I really enjoyed everything with the like the him dying. Actually, I really liked that scene where he's like, "Hey, you do everything wrong. Keep doing it." Like I don't know. I just thought it was incredibly well done. I really thought there was a lot of good development between the two of them. The jokes between the two of them about, or when he finally does tell a joke or whatever, the keen fashion sense to stop the vampire. Like I thought all of that was great. Like I really enjoyed all of that, and I love the sarcasm and the oh my god, this girl. I thought throughout the whole movie was really good. I really enjoyed it as Sutherland. I thought he was great.
It feels like he's sleepwalking the role for most of it for me.
I disagree. I think, if anything, it's kind of very similar to the other ones where it takes a while for them to let him do stuff, because otherwise he's got to do a lot of boring setup in the beginning part. But even like when he like first like comes to see her, right?
Oh, he's a creeper in the gym. Like, you have any dreams?
Yeah. Well, even before the dreams part, he's like, "Okay, you need to come to me with the graveyard. You want me to come to a graveyard with you?" Yes. Like the way he delivers it and everything, like he does this little smile, like, yes, I would. Yes. Come on. Like I loved it. I really enjoyed all of that from Sutherland. So I have complete opposite feelings about that.
Okay. Like I said, the shining star of this movie is Luke Perry.
Yeah.
He has Pike.
I agree. We agree on that.
A dirtbag mechanic who Buffy falls for, which is really weird.
Yeah.
He's really funny in this movie.
There's some amazing line deliveries from him.
Like, the first thing we have from him, there he's in the movie theater with his buddy David Arquette, Benny, playing Benny, and Benny is annoyed at Buffy and her friends talking through the movie, rightfully so.
Yep.
And he's like, "We paid good money for this." No, it's like Luke Perry's like, "No, we didn't."
Yeah.
I love Pike and Benny running into Buffy and her friends at the diner. Yeah. And Buffy accuses them of being thrashed.
Yep.
Which I guess means drunk in
it
92 lingo.
Actually, I kind of actually understood that one.
Yeah. Benny says, old. "Are we?" And Pike is like, nod. He like nods while taking a swig from his flask and says, "That would explain the slurred speech."
Yeah.
Thanks.
He pulls that flask out a couple of times throughout the movie, which is even more troubling because it's like, this girl's a teenager in high school and you're pulling out a freaking flask.
To be fair, I think that flask move was like really popular in like 90s
Was it?
stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I was a kid at that point, so.
You're floating. Come on, man. Get away from here.
It's great. It is actually insanely well delivered, that whole scene from him.
Yeah.
Again, I said that already. The both of them were great in that moment.
Yeah. Arquette's really good.
Yeah.
So that confrontation in the where the Rose Bowl parade floats are, the vampire says, Buffy says, "You were my friend," to the vampire, and vampire says, "And now I'm a god," and that's where Pike pops up and sticks a stake through him back to his back. He says, "And now you're a coat rack."
Yeah. Actually, I thought that one was bad.
I thought he was good at that one.
I thought that one. He's got a lot of good ones, but I thought that one was actually kind of bad.
And now you're a coat rack.
Mostly because it was, I think, mostly not his fault. I think it was bad editing. There was way too long of a delay in between things there, and saying I'm a god and then getting stabbed. Like the delay was really bad, and so I just think it was just bad editing. I don't think it was his fault.
But he's like, he's very useful to Buffy in this movie.
Yeah.
He's the only one who prepares for this dance and like makes all the stakes for her, which she basically doesn't use because she's not interested in killing vampires in this movie. It's towards the end.
Yeah.
He helps save a lot of the kids at this dance.
I guess I'm watching this movie. I'm like, how is not everyone dead? Because I'm not seeing a whole lot of vampires being killed.
My headcanon says Stephen Root took out a lot of them.
Is that
that's my headcanon.
Isn't it crazy? Because I completely forgot Stephen Root was in this movie, and it immediately elevated it for me.
Well, let's get into him.
Okay, because he is fantastic. You can see like the blueprint for the principal stays even in the TV show, basically.
For the first season, yeah.
Yeah, the clueless principal type of deal.
Yeah, who gets eaten by the people who turn into animals or whatever. But he's really funny, Stephen Root. Him telling Buffy the story about taking acid and going to a Doobie Brothers concert and seeing the music and thinking he was a toaster. Yeah. It's just like an incredible ramble.
I'm assuming that was all improvised.
I don't know. I don't know, but it's like the way Root delivers it is great. What's really impressive is that he's even able to like save bad jokes. Yeah. So like later on, like you said, after like all the action is over, before the master has arrived, Lothos, there's a bunch of dead vampires in the ground. He's like throwing permission slips on the dead bodies.
Detention slips.
Yep. Detention. It's like, all right, this is kind of a lame joke. And then he turns around. He's like, I think that's all of them. Oh, nope. He gets really excited. The way he sa's nope, and so excited that there's more detention slips throwing dead bodies. And it's just like really, really funny.
I also love too when Lothos pops up in the gym and he goes, "That man is not in high school." Like it's like yes. And it's so well delivered.
Buffy goes back into the gym and Hilary Swank starts freaking out. And it's like,
isn't that crazy, by the way? Hilary Swank randomly in this movie.
There's so many weird cameos in this movie. Well, not cameos, but like early, starts of their career in this movie.
They will be stars.
But Stephen Root like grabs her head and just smashes it against the wall. Like, enough. And
oh yes, that was a crazy one. No, not Buffy. Don't let her in. And just totally knocks his own student out into the wall. I was like, oh my god.
Just like, oh man, Stephen Root, bravo, sir.
This principal's losing his mind. But yeah, no, he's amazing. He's really good in
it. Special shout out to Affleck in his film debut.
Yeah, again.
And a final special shout out to Tom Jane as Luke Perry's mechanic boss.
Oh my god, I didn't pick up on that. Was that really Thomas Jane?
That's Tom Jane.
Oh my god.
He just wants his kids back.
What a great show.
Yeah, Arrested Development. Love you.
Arrested Development is amazing. Yeah. Wow.
This is my highest scoring category. Because while I didn't care for... Donald Sutherland sleepwalking through a role is better than most people. So it's like, it's not... Like, I know he's better than this, and it kind of bumped me as well. I scored it lower for him. But Luke Perry is so good, and Stephen Root is so good, and Hilary Swank is like, wow, it's Hilary Swank. Look at this. This is, you know what it's like?
No one's doing bad.
This movie is like a full of a cast of that joke in Wayne's World 2, where they bring in Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, Charlton Heston for this small little part. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, this movie's casted like that.
None of them are at this level, right? Yeah.
No, but it's like, it's still amazing. Wow, we got this person for this little part. That's amazing.
It is impressive the amount of people are in this movie, and it's impressive. Like, I get you kind of said it once already, right? Like, even if a line is bad, they are so good at their craft. Like, they can still deliver it, and it's still...
Stephen Root especially is just...
Yeah,
he can turn a bad joke good.
We disagree on Sutherland, but I think Sutherland is right there with it. And so yeah, I gave it a 3. I thought,
I did too.
Yeah, I thought the supporting
even
cast
with my complaints about Sutherland,
nuts.
I just All right, so what was your final score, Tim?
I believe it was a 10.
I gave this movie an 8.5.
So you have it on the same par as The Gate.
It's better than The Gate 2.
It's definitely better than The Gate 2.
No doubt.
But I also enjoyed this movie than Hellraiser 3.
No, Hellraiser 3 is way more fun for me than this movie.
Action-wise, I give it to you.
Action, villain.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, it's so different. It's so hard, but
yeah, it's obviously very, very different.
But
and what hurts this movie, and it's probably unfair, but I'm sorry, it's me, my opinion. They made it this really great television show for 7 years that was so much better than this.
So much
and
better.
It hurts it in so many ways. That's legacy of this movie. It's like, ugh.
Yeah,
we do better.
They do 1,000 times better. I mean, again, I think it was I know it was, for me at least, it was my favorite television show for a very long time. I don't know what holds the top spot at this point, but I know Buffy was there for a long time, and I think Buffy season 2 was one of my favorite seasons of television show ever.
It's the best season of the show, but it's a great, great show.
Yeah, so it's hard, right? I haven't revisited in a long time, but it was one of the shows I revisited the most. So I agree with that. It's hard to judge it, and I really did try to go into this movie without seeing it in a really long time. Being a really long time since I did a rewatch too of the television show, but trying to judge it on its merits without the TV show, which is incredibly hard to do. But all you can
do is acknowledge your biases and move on.
I ended up really enjoying a lot of the humor and the lines, and I thought a lot of people did a really good job of that, and it probably made me tick things up more. But you're right. I mean, action, I think, is definitely the most lacking of everything.
It's like literally any episode of the show was better.
Yeah,
action
and the villains are great. You just wish the highs were all the way through. But I don't think anybody was like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like, I know you gave a 1 at one point, but like, I don't
for action.
Yeah, which I agree would be the worst, but I don't think there was anything so bad that made me go, like, even like the action in this movie was never as woof as something like Beastmaster to me. Like, but anyway.
All right. So
we have to decide where we're putting these things. So you said 8.5, right? So you're putting
and I put it over Gate 2. It's better than Gate 2.
Let me just slot it in here so I got that for posterity's sake.
And you're putting this.
Oh, that's the big one, right?
Yeah, this just goes with the same score as Kronos.
I know.
Which do you think is a better movie, Tim?
Kronos.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I'm putting it over Hellraiser 3.
All right. Well, you got to answer to God later for that one.
Do I? I just think there's more fun things. And
don't debate with me, girl.
There's so much. I don't know. Like because of the gnarly stuff in that movie and the action in that movie, I think it unfairly inflates that movie because there's so much worse about that movie. So, that I think Buffy's a more consistent, better movie all around than Hellraiser 3. As much as Hellraiser 3, its heights, I think, are better than Buffy, if that makes sense.
So, Whedon was involved in an advisory role early in the movie, but left after becoming dissatisfied with the direction the film was taking.
That's fair.
The studio removed a lot of Whedon's jokes, believing nobody would get the humor. It was too abstract. And they disliked the darker elements in Whedon's original script. So, like, for instance, originally Merrick was going to get kidnapped and turned into a vampire, but he was going to kill himself before allowing himself to be turned, so they can find out who Buffy was. And Buffy, this is funny. They referenced this in the television show, and it obviously doesn't happen in the movie. But in the original script, Buffy burns down the gym to kill all the vampires inside, and this doesn't happen here. So they were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that."
And it obviously makes her a lot younger in the TV show too. But.
Yeah, and then he was super pissed off at Donald Sutherland, who kept on changing all his lines. He said he was entitled and difficult to work with, which, considering everything we've heard about Joss Whedon, is funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and I'm sure, some screenwriters can be very precious with their lines, but even still, like, this backstory for Sutherland's character became really garbled and weird. So I'm sure he might.
Certainly did.
I think Whedon probably had a point on this one.
I don't know, because I don't know, him changing lines messes with that script. Like, how does his line change messes with that idea? I don't get.
Well, the whole reincarnation and Watcher.
You think that was through a changing of lines?
Could be. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I'd have to read the original script. But it's very like, huh?
Yeah, it's just a weird one to comprehend that would equate to that, but fair enough.
So the movie had a budget of $7 million, which is a little over $15 million in today's money, and it grossed a little over $16.5 million, which is a little over $36 million in today's money. It debuted in 5th place at the weekend box office, losing to Death Becomes Her in its first weekend, which we will review later.
Definitely.
It also lost to Honey Blew Up the Kid in its 3rd week of release, Mo Money in its 2nd, and A League of Their Own in its 4th week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's weird because it's like I feel like Buffy the movie was such a HBO thing for me that it's hard to think of it at the same time frame as these other movies.
Yeah, that's why I started I wish I'd done it from the very beginning, is look at the entire weekend box office. Like, here's what else is happening in movie world.
Yeah.
So what are we watching next week, Tim?
Raising Cain.
Oh, you're doing it.
Doing it.
All right.
De
Palma.
I want it. It was on my list a couple of times already at this point, so I'm gonna go there. I think more serious too. I kind of wanted to correct of sorts from Buffy. I feel like it's weird to go kind of more comedy route multiple times in a row, so which is difficult this season. There's a lot of it this season, so. But yeah, so Raising Cain. You got De Palma. It's kind of hard to, what can be wrong, right?
Okay, I'm not going to say anything, and
I
look forward to hearing your opinions.
I've heard other views other than yours, so we'll see if who holds up, right? According to me, at least. All right, you ready? That is it for us. Please show your support for the podcast by leaving a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or wherever you happen to listen to the show. Also, sharing is caring. Be sure to follow us on social media to get the latest show updates. You can contact us by emailing at filmbrochamp@gmail.com or find us by searching for the hashtag FilmBroChamp. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Film Bros Championship Podcast. Peace out, everyone.
Ooh.
Oh. Mask.